One of my favorite family photos is a picture of my brother in front of our garage door. He has a little red coat on and some gray pants and a lunchbox. It's his very first day of school. My brother would go to grade school for 9 years, and then he went off to high school for 5 years, and then he went off to university for 7 years, and now he's a professional and doing really well. And when I see that picture, I often think, if only he knew the incredible journey that he had ahead of him. You know, the many years of schooling and the hard work that it would take to get him from there to where he is now. Sometimes when we look at the call to holiness, it seems like we're on the first day of school and we're thinking about the last day of our university graduation, and we wonder, how do we ever do that? How do we get from where we are right now to being the saints that God's calling us to be? But you know, we do it just the way my brother made it through school, just by going one day at a time, taking one small step. And I'd like to give you just 4 very concrete and simple ways that we can take those next steps. The first one is to make a commitment to holiness. Now, nobody who goes to university on their first day and is not sure if they should be there, and not sure what they want to do and if they like their program, if they continue in that lack of commitment, they're not going to last very long. They're certainly not going to do an undergrad and then a graduate degree and then maybe their doctorate. People that make it all the way through are people that have made a commitment to going all the way through, to paying the price, to making the sacrifices necessary. And I think with holiness, we just have to make that commitment. And that's an internal decision. That's us saying, this is the most important thing I could ever do. Everything depends on this. This is the thing that God has made me for. So am I willing to give everything to it? Think of a great Olympian. They don't get there by accident. They don't start practicing the week before. They make a commitment years, sometimes decades before, that they want to be an incredible athlete, that they want to be an Olympian. And it's that commitment that carries them through the difficult times, through the trials, and through the setbacks, and ultimately allows them to persevere. The second thing that we can do in order to fulfill this call within us to holiness is to evaluate our life, to take a real inventory of where we are in terms of our spiritual life. That means our prayer life, our frequency of reception of the sacraments, how faithful we are in receiving them, how faithful we are to our call to evangelize, the virtues that we're living out, the vices that we struggle with, the structures within our daily life, and the people around us that either support our relationship with God or actually make that more difficult. To really be honest with ourselves. Think of a young couple that's met, they've fallen in love, and they're thinking of getting married. It's wonderful that they're excited and they want to make this commitment to each other. But I think any couple that's been married for a few years would say it's probably also good that they really take a step back and evaluate in a very serious and sober way whether they really are a good match for each other. I mean, they may like the same sort of foods and like the same types of places to travel to, but there's a lot more to a married life than that. The same thing with a life of holiness. We really need to be honest with ourselves. Not because we want to be introspective and not because we want to focus on the negative. We can see the areas that we need to focus on are the places that God is inviting us to grow. The third way that we can begin to take the next step in holiness is through prayer. For many people, prayer is nothing more than saying grace before meals. But what I mean is real prayer. Prayer where we're talking to God. We're taking time to pour our heart out to Him. And we're getting quiet so that we can hear His heart. We don't start with an hour every day. We don't even maybe start with 20 minutes a day. Maybe we start with 2 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day. And we allow that to grow. But if we don't start with something simple, we'll never have a flourishing prayer life. Prayer life is not just about doing devotions. It's not just about reciting prayers. Those are very, very important. But it's also about speaking to God. Just start with 2 minutes of speaking to God every day and see how that grows. And finally, the fourth way is in the virtues. What is one virtue that I want to grow in? What is one thing I can do every day to grow in that virtue? I want to be more patient. What's one way I can exercise patience every day? Holiness is this incredible vocation. It's like the pinnacle of this mountain. But anyone that's ever climbed a mountain knows you don't just go right to the pinnacle. It takes 1,000 steps. It takes 100,000 steps. It takes 1,000,000 small steps. Each one bring us closer to where we want to go. So today, commit yourself to to taking those first steps.
Father Thomas Dubay, in his book, Saints, A Closer Look, says that holiness is not really the result of pious feelings or thoughts, but actual choices. And we've tried to give you a lot of resources to look at how we choose to commit to God and our relationship with Him in the day-to-day. The next step is really looking at your own life and asking, how am I going to reveal my commitment to holiness through choices? Now, for some people, if you're an ordained priest, you might find that involves praying before the Blessed Sacrament for an hour every morning. That might be possible for some lay people, but for others, it might be committing to 25 minutes of mental prayer in the morning before the kids get up. It may involve going to Mass more than just on Sundays. Or it may involve getting a spiritual director for the first time. What we're going to ask you to do is look at the worksheet we've provided and begin to plot out areas of commitment in your own life so that you can know by seeing on paper that you're committing yourself to a deeper holiness in your life. Now, some of you are probably saying, oh my gosh, my life is so full already. I can't possibly imagine adding another thing to it. Well, like we talked about in habits, it involves choices to make small changes. And you may not be able to, again, pray in the way that you want to because of your stated life. You might not have as much time to give, but by committing a little bit, by maybe starting with 10 or 15 minutes of mental prayer in the morning, by maybe reading your Bible for a few minutes in the evening, you're going to find that God rewards you for that time. And you won't know what's really available until you've tried to do it. So I invite you to step out a little bit more, to commit with a little bit more heart to your relationship with God and making sure you're listening to how He might be speaking in your life. So now I invite you to take some time, print off the worksheet we've offered you for this module, and look at really what is possible in your life. Where can you commit, and put it out on paper. And for further accountability, you can share your plan in the Facebook group.